Welcome everybody, this is B and I'm the creatrix of the Dark Goddess Priestess course, and I've been told to do a video to explain a little bit more about what it is that we're going to be doing. And I've gone a little bit into my stubborn child because I hate making these videos. I expect people to trust me and to say, this is good for you, come and do this. And if people don't, then don't worry about it. So I have not dried my hair. I've got my Malificent crown on. I'm in my proper hag sort of fury almost at myself for not being as organized, as loving as I could be. These are stages that are part of our work with the Dark Goddess, and they're ongoing stages. So the first thing I want to say is that if you do this course, if you come on board, if you click buy now, if you do this, you're not going to come out of it perfection, because there's no such thing. I will never expect anyone to be perfect, least of all myself. I want to have the freedom to be the myriad, wonderful, sparkling facets of myself. What does the course do for me? For you? Well, first of all, I love sharing my story of how the Dark Goddesses came to my rescue when I was diagnosed with a life-threatening illness. And what happened is that Caradwen, who is my tutelary goddess, she always, in my view, pulls up her sleeves and says, hang on a minute, I've got this, hold my coat. I've got a couple of friends that might come and give us a hand with this. And so I slowly but surely was surrounded in one magical night by Hecate, by Lilith, by Morgana, and by Nephthys. All of these goddesses I'd worked with a little bit before, but I'd never really understood their power. And I was a little bit concerned, why does Caradwen, whom I think is perfect in every way, to a certain degree, why does she need the help? And she said, I need the sisterhood. You are precious to me. There is always more work than one set of hands can do. So let us have a go at this. You're going to be safe in our hands. And this is what I want to say to you. You are safe in their hands. There will be changes. There will be transformation. There will be tears. There will be screams. There will be days when you are filled with rage and anger. And then there will be days when you are completely peaceful. Women are conditioned. Even women that are young now are still conditioned by all of the things that patriarchy asks from us. And what I've actually noticed is that, yes, it is our mothers, our sisters, our grandmothers that are conditioning us. But I also notice that they themselves are conditioned. How could they bring us up in any different way? Yes, we are told that we can have it all. In the 80s, I was told that by Margaret Thatcher. You know, I could have children, I could have a full-time job, I could have a beautiful home. Unless you have 5 sets of hands or 4 helpers, you cannot do everything. You're not able to do it all and do it all perfectly. Because again, perfection is an illusion. So first of all, we're going to learn how to cut ourselves some slack. When I was diagnosed with my illness, my whole perception shifted. In the end, I was fine, and 12 years on, I'm still hopefully fine. But my whole life had shifted from being constantly of service, always beating myself up about not having everything in perfect order, you know, to actually thinking, hang on a minute, there's just the one of you. How could you possibly be doing all of this and still have time for yourself? For the 20 years that I had my children, my job, and my husband, I had no time for myself. I had no idea who I was. When I was diagnosed, I suddenly thought, well, how am I going to cope with this? My personality changed. My identity changed. I was no longer a high-flying executive with a big firm. I was no longer the person who had 2 beautiful children. I suddenly was the patient. And I began to realize that I had to shift everything. But I didn't have to go into a decline. There is always this talk about going into the underworld. One of the reasons why I've never worked with Inanna is this patriarchal And when you think the two people who tell us about going into the underworld are two men, Freud and Jung, and we've adopted their words, we've adopted their work into the pagan world, into the normal psychology work. We have adopted their work without ever actually anyone questioning them. Well, people have started now, and that's good, because no, you don't have to go into the underworld. You don't have to put everything down that makes you out. What you have to do is hold on to the parts that are there for you right now, that sovereign part of you, that strong part of you, that defiant part of you, that loving part of you, loving yourself. And yes, there are times when you are allowed to put yourself first without feeling shame, without blaming yourself. And it isn't just because you need a duvet day. And you do need to look in the mirror, into the dark mirror of your soul and into the light mirror to see how beautiful you truly are. Every day I look in the mirror and I find something that I have not seen about myself that is truly beautiful. The shape of my shoulders, the gentle slope of my breasts now that they are becoming a little less big and a little more flowing down. And it's about actually looking into your face, watching yourself age. We recently had the Crone conference, and what I learned during the Crone conference is, hell no, I'm not a crone. A crone is somebody that sits in a chair and graciously brings people to her to dish out their wisdom. That's not me. And I'm not a hag either. I hate the word hag. I don't care how many people say to me, we must reclaim the word hag. No, we don't. I am me. And I am a wild, wise, feisty woman who enjoys everything in her life. I enjoy being cold and being hot. I enjoy dancing through the mists in the morning. I enjoy wild pooing, which I tried recently, and which was something that I'd never thought I'd do because I'd been so conditioned that that was wrong. And nature received my offering, and certainly the flies really enjoyed it. We have got to stop thinking about what is right and what is wrong, because those are diametrically opposed states of mind. And we must give ourselves permission to be who we are. We must relearn how to love our bodies. We must see every beauty in ourselves, in our eyes, in, the smile that we have for others. We stand strong. We help other sisters to stand strong. There is a war on women, and I will talk about this in the course. If that is something that you don't necessarily agree with, then I'm sorry, that's how it is though. I have observed and watched for the last 16 years, since my daughter was a young woman, how we are being manipulated into believing that we are supporting each other when actually we are placed into a position where we have to always be in comparison with each other, in fighting with each other. And when you see the situation in the States, and we cannot ignore the politics of what is happening to us as women, because if we ignore this, as it says in the song, if we tolerate this kind of behavior, our children will be next. And I have a young granddaughter whom I wish to step out into the world when she is old enough and see a world that is actually kind and loving and supportive of her. So I have to start with myself. I have to start loving myself. And I have to say to people, yes, I want to help you. Yes, I want to be able to be there for you. But I also know that there are times when I have to be there for myself. I can't give when I'm empty. This is what the 5 powerhouses of the goddess have taught me. They are full powerhouses, and they are funny, and they are hilarious, and they can make you mad. And they say, you know what, especially Lily, you know what? Fuck that. Forget about it. Let's go play. Let's go to the sea. Let's go to the rivers. Let's be mermaids. I've actually convinced my grandson by now that I'm a mermaid. And it's a loving care. We are loving care into the world, but there has to be that boundary that we are constantly overstepping because we've taught to overstep it. The goddesses are showing us when to speak up. Hecate, goddess of justice. A woman has been harmed. Everybody else keeps their mouths shut. apart from her. So we will look at the myths, and we will look at the ways that this is still playing out these days in our society. And we will look at what can we do. We are going to storm barricades. I've always said, if one more time, these damn politicians in Parliament, I'm going to sit, I'm going to paint my boobs and my face blue, and I'm going to sit and protest. And I will. There will be a time that I will do that. I'm not going to ask you to do that just yet, but you might come and join me. We've already showed the people here in Glastonbury are foofs, so why not? And this is another thing. We are making our own language up. We are rejecting everything, including the language that has been pushed on us by other so-called spiritual teachers, women and men. We are making up our own language. I was told by someone that I much, much admire that we don't call our nether regions, that we don't call them vagina because it's too medical. We don't call them a vulva or whatever. We call them yonis. Now, for me, yoni is a word that doesn't belong to me. I have a foof or a vulva or my prum or whatever. I will call my vagina, my parts down there, but want to call them. And if I want to touch them, I will touch them. And if I don't, I won't. We need to find that freedom. We need to find that freedom to do what is right for us. And I will invite you at any point in the course to say, I find this interesting, but it's not for me. But please ask yourself, why is that not for me? Why am I so reluctant to do something, even in the privacy of my own home, that might well be something that could actually save my life? Touching ourselves, finding pleasure in touching ourselves, but also checking our body whether everything is all right. So for me, there is lots of information on the website what the course is about. There's not going to be reams and reams of writing material. There is going to be joy. If you want to dig deep, there are all sorts of books about all of these goddesses. But I want to remind you that anything that anyone writes is actually their perspective. And it is actually their perspective from their experience of life, from what they've been grounded in, what has been told them, the conditioning. You are approaching conditioning that has been done to them. So please, it is about you experiencing these goddesses in your own body, experiencing them as they are for you. And I love Morgan Le Fay, I love Hecate, I love all of these goddesses. But each of them is so different. Not all goddesses are one goddess. Anyone who says that has never worked with the different kind of goddesses and how they help us be a little more in our own divine self. So the idea is of this course to find yourself, to travel within, to go through the portal. And it is still time to sign up. It is still time to come and join us. There is a small group of very lovely people already part of this group. And, you will not like everyone that you meet. You may not even like me. And at times, I swear you won't like me. But that's okay, because that will be something that reflects in you. I try not to offend people on purpose, but it is very possible that I will say something that will harm something inside of you, only because it is still seeping a wound, something that you feel not worthy, that you feel not seen. And what you do is you take your elbow and you elbow me on the side very gently and say, "Oi, B, listen, I want to say something. I want to speak. I take my right to speak, and then I will hear you." And you do that gently and lovingly. And if we all do that, then we have a way of finding our balance, finding our love. So I will stop this video now. Otherwise, she said, make a short video. It's already 15 minutes. When I start talking, unfortunately, it is usually a long process. But I'm enthusiastic and I'm passionate. And this is a love project. It was something that I've always wanted to do and never had time for. So right now, I'd like to introduce you to my beautiful sisters, the sister goddesses, the dark goddess sisterhood. And maybe from our roots will grow the mighty trees that will fight the wounds, the harshness, and the injustice of society today when it comes to women and children. We work with Mother World, and Mother World works in cohesion with the women and children. We are the village in which the next generation will be born into and grown, and hopefully grown to see everyone as equal. So mote it be, blessed be.